When we think of Bob Dylan today, we often see him as untouchable, the Nobel laureate, the folk prophet, the voice of a generation. But hidden beneath the legend lies another story, one rarely told. A story of 6 extraordinary singer-songwriters, each consumed by rivalry with Dylan. These were not imitators. They were icons in their own right. Yet Dylan's towering shadow haunted them, sparking decades of jealousy, bitterness, and questions about their own worth. Joan Baez, the voice of conscience. Joan Baez stood at Dylan's side during the early folk years, her crystalline soprano lifting songs of protest and love. She championed Dylan when few knew his name. But as his fame soared, Baez was left grappling with her own artistic identity. Former manager Peter Asher once claimed that Baez privately collected evidence of Dylan's limitations, his repetitive chord progressions, his narrow vocal range, while building her own case for recognition. Former producer Henry Lewis admitted she would sometimes vent about Dylan's flaws, insisting the public gave him more respect than her truly innovative compositions. Yet, despite her frustrations, Dylan was consistently ranked above her in greatest songwriter lists. Friends say this left Baez consumed by lasting resentment, even as her confessional songwriting, fearless lyrics, and jazz-influenced guitar tunings revolutionized folk music in ways Dylan himself never attempted. Baez brought unmatched emotional honesty to her songs. She could be both fragile and unshakable, often dismissed as feminine introspection, but in truth forging a path every bit as profound as Dylan's. Still, history crowned Dylan the ultimate musical poet, while Baez remained, unfairly, in his shadow. Joni Mitchell, the architect of emotion few songwriters in history, reshaped music as boldly as Joni Mitchell. With complex guitar tunings, jazz-infused arrangements, and fearless personal lyrics, she redefined what confessional songwriting could be, and yet even she felt Dylan's weight. In interviews, Mitchell grew increasingly blunt, once declaring, "Dylan's reputation overblown, his limited voice, his reliance on repetitive chord patterns, and his exaggerated mystique. She wasn't alone." Former producer Henry Lewis claimed Mitchell often raged privately, saying Dylan's fame was inflated, while her own groundbreaking work went underappreciated. Critics, however, consistently placed Dylan above her, ranking him as the ultimate songwriter. Mitchell's bitterness deepened as she watched Dylan's acclaim grow. Yet she pressed forward, building a legacy that was, in truth, equal to his, if not greater in innovation. She turned vulnerability into power, and her work inspired generations of artists. Paul Simon, the perfectionist rival Paul Simon, meticulous and sophisticated, approached songwriting like a craftsman. Every harmony was flawless, every lyric polished. And yet, Dylan's raw authenticity infuriated him. Simon couldn't understand why audiences preferred Dylan's nasal mumbling over his own carefully orchestrated masterpieces. At a 1966 label meeting, recalled music executive Clive Davis, Simon vented his frustration. Why was Dylan's authenticity valued above Simon's perfection? Former collaborator Tom Wilson remembered Simon endlessly studying Dylan's recordings, trying to grasp what gave them their power. Critics praised Dylan's honesty, while Simon felt overlooked despite his technical superiority. As time went on, Simon became obsessed with matching Dylan's album sales and marketing budgets. Former Columbia Records executive John Hammond Jr. claimed Simon pushed himself harder out of sheer envy, and yet, despite his frustration, Simon's place in history is secure. His sophisticated arrangements and harmonic brilliance crafted a catalog every bit as timeless as Dylan's. Neil Young, the reluctant competitor Neil Young, with his shaky voice and feedback-drenched guitar, became the pioneer of alternative rock. His authenticity was never in doubt, but Dylan's presence frustrated him deeply. Critics often credited Dylan with innovations Young himself had pioneered. During the Buffalo Springfield days, as Dylan went electric, Young felt overshadowed. Former manager Elliot Roberts admitted Young would deliberately schedule album releases to compete with Dylan, hoping to prove his own worth. Music historians, however, consistently cite Young as a major influence on later generations. His authenticity, his willingness to push boundaries, and his emotionally raw songwriting earned him admiration, even as he wrestled with the weight of Dylan's cultural dominance. Leonard Cohen, the poet who measured himself against. Dylan Leonard Cohen, novelist and poet turned songwriter, entered music with credentials few could match. His lyrics were studied in university courses, his words crafted with philosophical depth. And yet, Cohen was consumed by Dylan. Multiple sources recall him obsessively analyzing Dylan's stream of consciousness verses, trying to understand their power. Jennifer Warnes, a former backup singer, recalled Cohen's visible frustration reading Dylan biographies. He admitted feeling jealous that Dylan, with less academic background, received more literary recognition. Even the Nobel Prize in 2016, former producer John Lissauer claimed Cohen privately complained that his carefully written verses received less scholarly attention than Dylan's spontaneous outpourings. Yet, in truth, Cohen carved his own path, blending mysticism, honesty, and emotional intimacy into songs that will endure forever. Donovan, the British Bob Dylan. The moment he emerged in the mid-1960s, Donovan was labeled the British Bob Dylan. Critics never let him escape the comparison. While Donovan developed a unique style, mystical Celtic imagery, psychedelic folk rock, and tender ballads, he was haunted by Dylan's reputation. Journalist Chris Welch recalled a 1966 interview where Donovan expressed real anger at being dismissed as a pale copy. Former manager Ashley Kozak claimed Donovan would tear up magazines that mentioned Dylan's name in reviews. Though Donovan forged his own path with innovative arrangements and genuine mysticism, he struggled under Dylan's shadow for his entire career.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.